Around 65 years ago, the situation in many Arab countries, such as Morocco and Yemen, became very dangerous for the Yidden living there. Hundreds of thousands were forced to escape to Eretz Yisrael, and among them, thousands of Jewish children. Unfortunately, the Israeli government at the time wanted to make these children forget about their Yiddishkeit and join the modern Israeli culture. They placed them in refugee villages where they were cut off from all the other Frum Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe, who cares for all the Yidden all over the world, didn't forget about these precious children. The Rebbe sent Shluchim to open up schools throughout the country, especially in these forsaken villages. The organization became known as the Reshes. One Shliach who was sent by the Rebbe was Reb David. He went to open a cheder in a small village called Yafa. This cheder did not have a nice building or facility where they could learn. It was made up of a few trailers that served as classrooms, and a sandy parking lot in front, which they used when the whole school would gather together. Although Reb David was having tremendous success with the school, there was one major issue that kept getting in the way of his shlichus, and this was the Minister of Education. This powerful man, by the name of Mr. Charon, didn't like religious Jews at all. He was really angry when Reb David moved right into the area. He would always find ways to make trouble for the cheder and to make Reb David's shlichus very difficult. One day, during the summer, as Reb David was checking his mail, he saw a letter that had the word ear mail stamped on it. And as he looked closer, he saw that this letter was from America. It was a letter from the Rebbe. Immediately, Reb David put on his gartel and began to read the letter. In the letter, the Rebbe asked that the school year should begin 2 weeks earlier than planned, on Rosh Chodesh Elul. This is very important, the Rebbe stressed, so there can be enough time for the children to properly prepare for the Yamim Tovim. Reb David knew that this would be very hard, since according to the Israeli government, the school year was meant to start much later. He knew that Mr. Charon would do anything to stop him. Needless to say, that did not deter Reb David from fulfilling the Rebbe's will. Sure enough, Rosh Chodesh Elul came, and Reb David's school was back in session. As it is customary in Elul, Reb David was preparing to blow the shofar for the whole school. Suddenly, Mr. Charon burst in, surrounded by police officers. His face was bright red, and he began to shout, "This is it! I am now officially closing down the school for good. Children," he continued, "in 2 weeks' time, you will all need to go to public school together with all the non-religious students in town." He then turned to the officers and shouted, "Officers, take down that sign, cheder." But instead of being frightened or alarmed, Reb David looked very calm and firmly announced, "Mr. Charon, it is not me you are challenging. I was sent here by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and it is he who instructed me to start the school on this day. If you allow us to continue our learning, then all is good. But even if you don't, we will still succeed. We are going with the Rebbe's kaiches. The cheder schedule will continue as planned." The next morning, a loud rumble was heard in the lot. The children looked out the window and saw several massive tractors heading their way. They were frightened, and many began to cry in fear. To everyone's surprise, instead of tearing down the trailers, they started working on a brand new building for the cheder, paid by the government. Reb David had been begging the government for a new building for 2 long years. Now, instead of the school being shut down, they approved his request for the brand new building. The construction crews worked throughout the next few months, and a short time later, the new building was ready. At first, Reb David did not know how it would be possible to start school on the date the Rebbe requested. Nevertheless, he knew that the only way to be successful in the Rebbe's shlichus is by listening to the Rebbe's directives. because of his devotion to the Rebbe's request. Not only was he successful in beginning the school on time, he brought about a brand new building for the school, which was able to hold many more students.